My father, a senator, skipped my wedding to hide his shame. My mother spat, "He is worthless dirt." When they finally saw the FBI files I handed them, they started calling me in a panic. My name is Morgan. I am 32 years old, and on the morning of my wedding, the silence in the bridal suite was loud enough to break glass. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. I was standing in front of a mirror that had seen better days, inside a venue that my mother would have called quaint in public and a dump in private. It was a historic inn on the edge of town, with creaky floorboards and the smell of lavender and old dust. It wasn't the plaza. It wasn't the country club. It was perfect. But my hands were shaking. I was trying to pin a stray curl of hair back, but my fingers wouldn't cooperate. I looked at my reflection. I didn't look like a glowing bride. I looked like a soldier preparing for a siege. My phone buzzed on the vanity table. I flinched. Every buzz that morning had been bad news. At 7 o'clock, the caterer had called. Someone claiming to be my personal assistant had tried to cancel the food order, claiming the wedding was off. Thankfully, the caterer knew me personally and called to check. At 8 o'clock, 3 of my cousins texted me. They weren't coming. My father, Senator Preston, had scheduled a mandatory political brunch for the family at the exact same time as my ceremony. The message was clear: choose Morgan, or choose the senator. They chose the senator. 30% of my guest list had evaporated overnight. And now, the phone buzzed again. It was the florist. Morgan, the woman's voice was apologetic. "I am so sorry. A woman called, she had your credit card number. She said she was your mother. She canceled the entire floral arrangement. The lilies, the roses, the archway. Everything." I felt a cold, hollow ache spread through my chest. It wasn't surprise. It was the confirmation of cruelty. My mother, Beatrice, hadn't just decided not to come. She had decided to scorch the earth so nothing could grow. "It's okay," I told the florist, my voice sounding strangely calm. "Don't worry about it." "But Morgan, you have no bouquet," she said. "I'll figure it out," I said. I hung up. I looked around the room. I walked over to the window that overlooked the venue's overgrown garden. I saw wildflowers. Dandelions. Daisies. Weeds that looked like flowers if you didn't know any better. "Fine," I whispered to the empty room. "You want to strip everything away? You want to make this look cheap? I'll make it real." I put on my shoes. I didn't cry. Crying was what the old Morgan would have done. The Morgan who begged for approval. The Morgan who majored in law because her father said art was for failures. That Morgan died the day I found the laptop. I walked outside into the garden and started picking wildflowers. I tore the thorns off with my bare hands. I tied them together with a piece of lace from my emergency sewing kit. It wasn't a professional bouquet. It was messy. It was wild. And it was free. Just like me. After I salvaged my flowers, I went looking for the only person in the world who made sense. I found Cole in the parking lot behind the inn. Most grooms, on the morning of their wedding, are sipping scotch or trying to remember their vows. My groom was waist-deep under the hood of a 1965 Mustang. It was our getaway car. We had rented it for the day, but of course, with my luck, it had stalled as soon as the rental guy dropped it off. "You're going to get oil on your tux," I said, leaning against the fender. Cole popped his head up. He had a smudge of grease on his cheekbone, right below his left eye. He wasn't wearing his jacket yet, just his white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that were strong and scarred from years of working as a mechanic. He grinned when he saw me. It wasn't a nervous grin. It was the kind of smile that made your knees weak. "Hey," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Don't worry. I'm surgical with this stuff. She just had a clogged fuel line. She'll run like a dream now." He stepped away from the car and looked at me. His eyes scanned my face, missing nothing. He saw the tension in my jaw. He saw the makeshift bouquet in my hand. What did they do? Cole asked. His voice dropped an octave. It went from playful to dangerous in a second. Mom canceled the flowers, I said. And Dad is holding a hostage situation with the guest list. A mandatory brunch. Cole threw the rag down on the asphalt. I'm going to kill them, he said matter-of-factly. I don't care that he's a senator. I'm going to drive down to that campaign office and put a wrench through his desk. No, I said, stepping closer and taking his hand. His skin was rough, calloused. It felt like safety. That's what they want. They want us to lose control. They want us to look like the trash they think we are. Cole sighed, running a hand through his hair. My mom called me 10 minutes ago, he admitted quietly. My heart stopped. What happened? Someone called their house, Cole said. Anonymous number. Said if they showed up to the wedding today, the bank might find some irregularities in their mortgage application. They're terrified, Morgan. They're simple people. They don't know how to fight lawyers and senators. Did they stay home? I asked, dreading the answer. Hell no, Cole smiled, a fierce, sharp look in his eyes. My dad loaded his shotgun and put it in the trunk. He said, let the senator try to take my house. I'll take his knees. They're inside right now, pinning on boutonnieres. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh that released some of the pressure in my chest. That was the difference. My family used power to crush people. Cole's family used love to shield people. We're going to win this, I told him. Today. It ends today. Cole pulled me in and kissed my forehead, right on the hairline. He smelled of motor oil and expensive cologne. It was the best smell in the world. Go get married, he whispered. I'll be the guy at the end of the aisle. The one who isn't invisible. The ceremony began at 11 o'clock sharp. We didn't have the string quartet my mother had insisted on booking and then cancelled. We had Cole's best friend, Mike, hooking up an iPod to a portable speaker. He pressed play, and an acoustic version of Canon in D floated through the air. It was thin. It sounded tinny in the large stone room. But to me, it sounded like defiance. The doors opened. I took a deep breath. This was the moment every girl dreams of. Walking down the aisle, seeing the faces of everyone she loves. I stepped forward. The church was about 60% full. Cole's side was packed. His family, his friends from the garage, the neighbors he had helped over the years, they were squeezed into the pews, shoulder to shoulder. They were smiling. Some were crying happy tears. Then I looked to the left. My side. It was a wasteland. My college friends were there, looking loyal but nervous. A few distant relatives who hated my father enough to defy him were scattered in the back rows. But the front pew. God, the front pew. It was completely empty. Usually, there would be a mother, a father, a sister, grandparents. Instead, there was just a long, polished wooden bench. It gleamed under the church lights, highlighting the emptiness. It looked like a gap tooth in a smile. It looked like a missing limb. I felt the whispers before I heard them. The guests were shifting in their seats, craning their necks. Where is the senator? Where is Beatrice? Is it true? Did they really not come? My father had promised me, when I was 10 years old and crying because he missed my piano recital, that he would never miss the big things. I'll always be there, Morgan, he had said, smoothing my hair. When it matters, I'm there. The lie burned in my throat like acid. He wasn't here. He was at a brunch 3 miles away, shaking hands with donors, probably telling them some sob story about how his daughter was unwell and couldn't handle a big wedding. I kept walking. I focused on Cole. He was standing at the altar, looking handsome and furious. He was staring at the empty pew with a look of pure hatred, but when his eyes met mine, the hate vanished. He smiled. He mouthed one word, you. I reached the altar. I handed my wildflower bouquet to my maid of honor, my friend Sarah, because my sister Paige was too afraid of Dad to show up. We turned to face the officiant. Dearly beloved, the priest began. We are gathered here today to join this man and this woman. The sound was explosive. It came from the back of the church. The heavy oak doors had been thrown open with enough force to bounce off the walls. The music stopped. The priest stopped. Every single head turned. Silhouetted in the doorway, against the bright midday sun, was a figure. It wasn't my father. It was Beatrice. My mother didn't walk, she descended. She was wearing a cream-colored power suit that cost more than my entire wedding budget. Her hair was sprayed into a helmet of perfection. She was flanked by a young woman in a gray pencil skirt, her newest assistant, a girl named Jessica who looked terrified to be there. Beatrice didn't look at the guests. She didn't look at the priest. She looked at me. Stop, she commanded. Her voice projected effortlessly. She had spent 30 years learning how to command a room, and she was using every ounce of that training now. Stop this charade right now. Cole stepped in front of me, his body tensing like a coiled spring. You're not welcome here, Beatrice. Leave. My mother laughed. It was a dry, brittle sound. She walked down the aisle, her heels clicking on the stone floor like the ticking of a bomb. Click. 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 She stopped 3 rows back. She wouldn't come closer to the altar, as if our poverty might be contagious. Welcome, she sneered. I am trying to save my daughter from making the biggest mistake of her life. Look at this, Morgan. Look at this pathetic display. She gestured around the room with a manicured hand. Plastic flowers? Recorded music? And him? She pointed a finger at Cole like it was a loaded gun. You are marrying a nobody, she screamed. The word echoed off the vaulted ceiling. He is nothing. He fixes cars for a living. He has dirt under his fingernails. You are a Preston. You are royalty in this state. And you are throwing it all away for a mechanic who probably can't even read a balance sheet. The church was dead silent. I saw Cole's mother stand up in the 3rd row, her face red, ready to fight. But Cole held up a hand to stop her. I might be a nobody to you, Beatrice, Cole said, his voice deadly calm. But I show up. Where is the senator? Is he too busy counting his bribes to walk his daughter down the aisle? Beatrice's eyes widened. She looked like she had been slapped. How dare you, she hissed. My husband is a great man. He is protecting this family's image from the stain you are putting on it. You are worthless dirt, boy. You are a gold digger who found a weak, stupid girl to exploit. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was quiet. It was the sound of a heavy rope finally fraying and breaking under years of tension. I stepped out from behind Cole. I wasn't shaking anymore. I felt cold. I felt precise. I'm stupid? I asked quietly. Yes. Beatrice shouted. You are impulsive and naive, and you are ruining us. Okay, I said. If I'm so stupid, Mom, then you won't mind seeing what I found. I reached into the pocket of my wedding dress, yes, I chose a dress with pockets, and pulled out a small, bright red envelope. It wasn't a wedding card. It was the color of a warning sign. I walked down the 3 steps from the altar. I walked toward my mother. She held her ground, looking down her nose at me. She expected me to cry. She expected me to beg her to stay, to beg for her blessing. That's what I had done for 32 years. But I didn't stop until I was 6 inches from her face. I could smell her expensive Chanel perfume. It smelled like my childhood, cold and distant. You called Cole a nobody, I said, my voice steady enough for the front rows to hear. You called him worthless dirt. I held up the red envelope. If he's such a nobody, Mom, then why did the FBI forensic accountant I hired find his tax returns were cleaner than Dad's offshore accounts? The color drained from Beatrice's face so fast it looked like a magic trick. She went from flushed with rage to ghostly pale in a second. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. "I'm talking about the Cayman Islands," I whispered back. "I'm talking about the Veterans Fund. I'm talking about the $2 million you stole to pay for the yacht renovation last summer." I pressed the red envelope into her hand. Her fingers were stiff, but she grabbed it reflexively. "Inside that envelope is a single document," I said. "It's a printout of the ledger from the shell company. Blue Horizon Consulting. You know that name, don't you? You're the signatory." Beatrice looked down at the envelope. Her hand started to tremble. "You wouldn't," she breathed. "You're bluffing." "Open it," I challenged. "Go ahead. Open it right here, in front of God and everyone. Prove me wrong." She stared at me. Her eyes searched mine for any sign of hesitation, any sign of the weak, obedient daughter she thought she owned. She found nothing but ice. She ripped the envelope open. She pulled out the single folded sheet of paper. I watched her eyes scan the page. I saw the moment she recognized the account numbers. I saw the moment she realized the date on the transaction was from the day of the charity gala last year. She let out a small, choked sound. She looked up at me with pure terror. "If you don't leave right now," I said softly, "and I mean right now, without saying another word, I will send the full file to the press. And to the Department of Justice." Beatrice didn't say a word. She didn't insult Cole again. She didn't look at the guests. She turned around so fast she almost tripped over her own assistants. She practically ran back up the aisle, her heels clacking frantically, fleeing the scene of the crime. The heavy doors slammed shut behind her. I stood there for a moment in the silence. Then I turned back to the altar. "Sorry about that, Father," I said to the priest. "We're ready now. To understand why I was willing to destroy my own mother in front of 100 people, you have to understand the cage I grew up in. People think being a senator's daughter is like being a princess. They see the photos in the magazines, the perfect family, the matching sweaters, the golden retriever that we were only allowed to pet when the cameras were rolling. But the reality was a prison. I remember when I was 18. It was my high school graduation. I was valedictorian. I had worked myself to the bone to get those grades, not because I loved school, but because I thought if I was perfect, my father would finally look at me with pride. I stood on the stage, holding my diploma. I scanned the crowd. I saw my mother, checking her watch. But the seat next to her was empty. My father hadn't come. When I got home, still wearing my cap and gown, I found him in his study, practicing his putting on a portable green. "Did you win?" he asked, without looking up. "It wasn't a game, Dad," I said. "It was graduation. I gave a speech." Good, he muttered. "I couldn't make it. Had to play 18 holes with the CEO of Exxon. He's donating big this cycle. You understand, Morgan. It's for the family. It's for the family." That was the mantra. When I was 22, I fell in love with a boy named Leo. He was an artist. He was kind and funny, and he voted Democrat. My father sat me down in that same study. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were photos of Leo. Photos of his parents. And a dossier that dug up a DUI Leo's father had gotten 20 years ago. "You will break up with him," my father said calmly. "Or I will release this to the press. I will paint his family as criminals. I will ruin his father's small business." "Why?" I cried. "He makes me happy." "Happiness is a luxury for poor people," my father said. "You are a Preston. You are an asset. And right now, dating a liberal artist depreciates your value." I broke up with Leo the next day. I broke his heart, and I broke mine. I learned the lesson. I was not a person. I was a billboard. I was a prop. I was an asset to be traded. Until I met Cole. 3 years ago, the asset malfunctioned. I was driving back from a fundraiser in DC. It was raining, a freezing, November rain that turned the highway into a slip-and-slide. I was crying behind the wheel of my BMW. I had just spent 3 hours listening to my mother criticize my weight, my hair, and my inability to find a suitable husband. Bang! My front tire blew out. I spun across 2 lanes and skidded into a muddy ditch on the side of a back road in Virginia. I was fine, physically. But emotionally? I was done. I called my father. Dad, I crashed. I'm in a ditch. Is the car okay? He asked. That's Elise, Morgan. The press will have a field day if you were driving recklessly. I'm scared, I whispered. Call AAA, he said. I'm in a meeting. Click. I sat there in the dark, the rain hammering on the roof, and I realized that if I died right there, my father would only worry about the obituary headline. I called a local towing company. 10 minutes later, a battered truck with Cole's Auto Repair stenciled on the side pulled up. A man jumped out. He was wearing a yellow raincoat and heavy boots. He waded through the mud to my window. He tapped on the glass. When I rolled it down, he didn't ask about the car. He shined a flashlight in my face, but gently. Hey, he said. His voice was rough, like gravel, but warm. Are you hurt? Look at me. Follow the light. I'm okay, I sobbed. I want to go home. I got you, he said. He hooked up the car. He drove me to his garage because the rental place was closed. He made me hot chocolate from a packet. He sat with me on a greasy couch in the waiting room while I waited for an Uber. He didn't know who I was. I didn't tell him. You look like you carry the world on your shoulders, he said, looking at my expensive, mud-ruined dress. Something like that, I said. Well, Cole said, taking a sip of his coffee. My dad always says, if the load is too heavy, you put it down. The world will keep spinning without you holding it up. It was the simplest, most profound thing anyone had ever said to me. I looked at this man, this mechanic with grease under his fingernails and kind eyes, and I felt the first crack in the golden cage. For a year, I kept Cole a secret. It was the happiest year of my life. I lived 2 lives. By day, I was the senator's daughter. By night, I was Morgan, the girl who ate pizza on the hood of a car and laughed at bad movies. But eventually, I had to bring him home. It was 1 year ago. The Rolex incident. This is the moment I knew there was no going back. I brought Cole to dinner at the estate. My parents were surprisingly polite. Too polite. My father poured Cole a glass of scotch. My mother asked about his business. I thought, maybe, just maybe, they were accepting him. We finished dinner. We were saying goodbye in the foyer. Wait, my father said, patting his wrist. My watch. My vintage Rolex. It's gone. He looked around frantically. I had it at the dinner table. I took it off to show you the engraving, didn't I, Cole? Cole frowned. You showed it to me, sir, but you put it back on. No, my father said, his voice hardening. I put it on the sideboard. Right next to where you were standing. My mother gasped. Oh my God. Look in his pocket. What? Cole stepped back. I didn't take anything. Empty your pockets, my father shouted. Or I call the police right now. The chief of police is on my speed dial. I was paralyzed. Dad, stop. He didn't take it. Empty them. Cole, looking calm but tight-jawed, reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out his hand. Dangling from his fingers was the gold Rolex. My blood ran cold. My mother shrieked. Thief. I knew it. He's a common thief. My father pulled out his phone. I'm calling the sheriff. This is a felony. I looked at Cole. I expected him to be panicked. But he wasn't. He was looking at them with a mixture of pity and disgust. You can call the sheriff, Cole said slowly. But before you do, you should know that I have an app on my phone. It's a security recorder. I turned it on when I walked into this house because Morgan told me you guys were tricky. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. A recording played. It was crisp and clear. We heard the sound of dinner chatter. Then, the sound of chairs moving. Then, distinct footsteps in the hallway. Beatrice's voice, whispering, "Hold still, William. Put it in his jacket while he's helping Morgan with her coat." The senator's voice, "Got it. This will get rid of him for good." Grand larceny. The silence in the foyer was absolute. The recording proved they had planted it. It was a frame job. A setup. Cole put his phone back in his pocket. He placed the watch gently on the table. You tried to send me to prison, Cole said softly. You tried to ruin my life just because you don't like my job. My father didn't apologize. He just sneered. You're too smart for your own good, boy. Watch your back. That was the night I stopped being their daughter. That was the night I started planning my revenge. 6 months ago, they tried one last tactic. Money. I was summoned to my father's campaign office downtown. It was a glass-walled room overlooking the city he thought he owned. He didn't offer me a seat. He was standing by the window, looking out. This coal situation, he said. It's becoming a problem. Polling shows that voters like a traditional family image. A mechanic doesn't fit the narrative. He's my fiancé, Dad, I said. He's not a narrative. My father turned around. He picked up a piece of paper from his desk. It was a check. He slid it across the mahogany surface. I looked at it. It was made out to me. The amount was $500,000. $500,000, my father said. Tax-free. I'll route it through a trust so you don't have to declare it immediately. What is this for? I asked, though I knew. It's a severance package, he said coldly. You break up with the mechanic. You call off the wedding. You agree to date Harrison Ford's son, the oil tycoon, not the actor. He's a good lad. He has a future. I stared at the check. $500,000. It was more money than Cole made in 5 years. It could buy a house. It could buy freedom. But it came with a chain. And if I say no? I asked. My father leaned forward. His eyes were dead sharks. Then I cut you off completely. No inheritance. No trust fund. I will use my influence to make sure Cole's garage gets audited every year for the next decade. I will make sure his zoning permits are revoked. I will starve you out, Morgan. You will come crawling back. I picked up the check. I looked at my father. You know what's sad? I said. You think everyone has a price because you sold your soul so long ago you forgot what it feels like to have one. I ripped the check in half. Then in quarters. I let the pieces flutter onto his expensive Persian rug. I'd rather starve with him than feast with you, I said. I walked out. But as I left, I realized something. He wasn't just mean, he was desperate. He was throwing money around like it didn't matter. Where was the money coming from? He was a public servant. His salary was public record. $500,000 was a lot of liquid cash for a senator to just hand out. That was the thread. And I decided to pull it. 3 months ago, I became a detective. I still had a key to the campaign office from when I worked there as an intern 5 years ago. I knew the security guard, old Joe. I knew he took a nap between 2 and 3 in the morning. I went in on a Tuesday night. I told myself I was just looking for answers. I slipped into my father's office. I didn't go for the physical files, he shredded those daily. I went for the server. My father was arrogant. He thought technology was for nerds. He kept his personal laptop docked on the desk. I guessed his password on the second try. Senator Preston 2000. The year he won his first election. His ego was his vulnerability. I started digging. I found a folder marked Veterans First Charity. On the surface, it looked fine. Donations came in from galas, from online drives. But the expenses column was where the horror lived. Item, construction consulting, $250,000. Vendor, Blue Horizon Limited. Item, logistics support, $150,000. Vendor, Blue Horizon Limited. I searched for Blue Horizon. It was a shell company in the Cayman Islands. I kept digging. I found emails between my mother and the family lawyer, Arthur Sterling. Email from Beatrice, we need another transfer to Blue Horizon. The yacht refurbishment is going over budget. Pull it from the PTSD counseling fund. Nobody checks that one. My stomach turned. I almost threw up in the trash can. They were stealing from soldiers with PTSD to put gold plating on their bathroom fixtures. It wasn't just fraud. It was evil. I pulled out a heavy-duty hard drive I had brought with me. I plugged it in. The download bar appeared on the screen. Copying 5 terabytes. Time remaining, 20 minutes. I sat there in the dark, watching the green bar crawl across the screen, sweating. I heard footsteps in the hall. Old Joe was waking up. 90%. 95%. The footsteps got closer. I saw the beam of a flashlight sweep under the door gap. 99%. Done. I yanked the drive out. I shut the laptop. I dove under the desk just as the door handle turned. Joe shined his light around the room. Hello? He didn't see me. He closed the door. I waited 10 minutes, my heart hammering like a drum. Then I slipped out the fire escape. I had the gun. Now, on my wedding day, I was finally ready to pull the trigger. Wow, that was intense. Morgan just risked everything to get that evidence. If you are rooting for her to take down her corrupt parents, please smash that like button right now. It really helps the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the ending. Also, comment down below, what city are you watching from? I love seeing where you guys are. Okay, back to the story. The wedding reception was held in the garden behind the inn. It should have been a celebration. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the long wooden tables. The jazz playlist was smooth. The guests were drinking champagne and eating the appetizers that the caterer had graciously doubled after hearing about my mother's sabotage. But under the surface, the air was vibrating with tension. I pulled Cole away from the dance floor. We went to a secluded stone bench near the tree lean, away from prying eyes. You need to know the full plan, I told him, keeping my voice low. The envelope I gave my mother, that was just the warning shot. It proved I have the gun. But I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Cole loosened his tie. He looked tired but focused. So what's the trigger? I pulled my phone out of my bridal purse. I opened an app called Dead Man's Switch. It's a tool usually used by investigative journalists or whistleblowers in dangerous territories. I showed him the screen. A large countdown timer was ticking down. Time remaining, 2 hours and 45 minutes midnight, I said. At exactly 12 o'clock tonight, if I don't enter a 20-character abort code, this app executes a command. What command? Cole asked. It sends an encrypted email blast, I explained. I have a distribution list set up. It goes to the FBI's public corruption tip line. It goes to the investigative desk at the Washington Post. It goes to the New York Times. And just for chaos, it goes to Fox News. Cole whistled low. And what's in the email? Everything, I said. 5 terabytes of data. The ledger. The emails. The scanned receipts of the yacht renovation. The photos of the fake construction sites. It includes a cover letter explaining exactly how Senator Preston and Beatrice Preston used a shell company to launder money from a veterans charity. Cole looked at me. His eyes were wide, filled with a mix of shock and admiration. Morgan, that's the nuclear option. If that email goes out, they don't just lose the election. They go to federal prison. For 10 to 20 years. I know, I said, my voice trembling slightly. That's why I haven't sent it yet. I gave them a chance. I gave them the envelope. They know I have it. Now, we wait to see if they surrender. What do you want from them? Cole asked. An apology? I don't care about apologies, I said bitterly. I want them to resign. I want them to pay the money back. And I want them to leave us alone. Forever. You're holding the detonator, Cole said, taking my hand. Are you ready to blow up your own legacy? They aren't my legacy, I said, looking at the ring on my finger. You are. The sun dipped below the horizon. The fairy lights in the trees flickered on. The reception was in full swing. My college roommates were dancing to Motown. Cole's uncle was giving a toast that involved a lot of embarrassing stories about Cole's childhood. For a moment, I almost forgot about the war. Then, at 9:30, the gravel crunched in the driveway. It wasn't a guest's car. It was a black Escalade with tinted windows and diplomatic plates. It looked like a shark swimming into a koi pond. The car stopped right at the entrance to the garden. The driver's door didn't open. The back door opened. A man stepped out. He wasn't my father. He was taller, thinner, and dressed in a suit that cost more than the venue itself. He had silver hair slicked back and eyes that looked like cold coins. It was Arthur Sterling. Who is that? Cole asked, stepping up beside me. That's the fixer, I whispered, feeling a chill run down my spine. Arthur Sterling. He's the family lawyer, but that's a polite term. He's the guy they call when they need to bury a body, figuratively speaking. He makes DUIs disappear. He silences mistresses. He's not here to toast the bride, Cole said, his jaw tightening. Sterling didn't look at the party. He scanned the crowd, found me instantly, and started walking. He didn't walk like a guest, he walked like an executioner. He stopped 3 feet from us. He didn't offer a hand. Morgan, he said. His voice was smooth, cultured, and terrifying. You look lovely. Shame about the turnout. What do you want, Arthur? I asked. I'm here on behalf of your parents, he said. They are distressed. They believe you are in possession of some stolen property. Proprietary digital files. I have evidence of felonies, Arthur, I corrected. There's a difference. Sterling smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Morgan, let's be adults. You are playing a dangerous game. Blackmail is a crime. Extortion is a crime. If you persist with this threat, I won't be able to protect you from the legal consequences. Are you threatening me? I asked. I'm advising you, he said, taking a step closer. He lowered his voice so only I could hear. Give me the drive. Delete the backups. Do it now, and your father is willing to forget this tantrum. He might even restore your trust fund. And if I don't? Then things get ugly, Sterling said. We know about Cole's garage. We know about his loan application. We know about his mother's immigration status from 20 years ago. It would be a shame if ICE decided to audit the family, wouldn't it? My blood ran cold. Cole's mother was a citizen now, but the process had been messy. They were threatening to deport my mother-in-law. You leave her out of this, I hissed. Give me the drive, Sterling held out his hand. Last chance. I stared at Arthur Sterling's open hand. It was manicured. It was the hand of a man who destroyed lives without ever getting dirty. I looked at Cole. I expected fear. I expected him to buckle under the threat to his mother. Instead, Cole whistled. It was a sharp, two-note whistle. Suddenly, the vibe of the party shifted. From the bar area, 3 large men stood up. They weren't wearing tuxedos. They were wearing suits that strained against their shoulders. It was Mike, Big Tony, and Sal. They were mechanics at Cole's shop. They spent their days lifting engine blocks and wrestling with rusted bolts. They were the kind of men who didn't care about politics. They cared about loyalty. They walked over and formed a semicircle around Sterling. Sterling looked around, his composure cracking slightly. What is this? Are you going to assault a lawyer? We're not assaulting anyone, Cole said, stepping chest to chest with Sterling. We're just escorting an uninvited guest off private property. I have a right to represent my clients, Sterling sputtered. You're trespassing, Cole said. And you just threatened my mother. Big Tony cracked his knuckles. It sounded like a tree branch snapping. You got a problem with the groom, you got a problem with the union, pal. Sterling adjusted his tie, looking nervous for the first time. He realized that his lawsuits and subpoenas didn't hold much power in a garden full of blue-collar workers who knew exactly who the bad guy was. This is a mistake, Sterling said to me, backing away. You are making an enemy of the most powerful man in the state. I'm not afraid of him anymore, I said. And I'm certainly not afraid of you. Get out. Sterling glared at us one last time, then turned and walked briskly back to the SUV. The mechanics followed him all the way to the car, arms crossed, making sure he got in. The SUV sped off, kicking up gravel. Thanks, guys, Cole said to his friends. Anytime, boss, Tony grinned. He looked like he needed an oil change. A painful one. We laughed, but my hands were shaking again. They had sent the wolf. That meant they were desperate. And desperation makes people dangerous. After the adrenaline of the confrontation wore off, I noticed something strange. My cousin Grant, the one who had sat in the front row, the black sheep graphic designer, was standing by the buffet table. He wasn't eating. He was typing furiously on his phone. He kept looking up at me, then looking back down at his screen. I felt a pang of suspicion. Grant had always been the neutral party. Why was he acting so shady? I walked up behind him quietly. The grass muffled my footsteps. I looked over his shoulder. He was texting a contact named Aunt Beatrice. The text read, Sterling just left. They kicked him out. Cole's friends intimidated him. Morgan looked scared though. I think she's bluffing about the midnight deadline. She keeps checking her phone. My heart sank. Grant wasn't an ally. He was a mole. A spy. They had probably promised him money or a job to report back to them. Grant, I said loudly. He jumped about a foot in the air. He fumbled his phone and almost dropped it into the potato salad. Morgan, he stammered, turning red. I was just, tweeting about the wedding. You're texting my mother, I said coldly. You're telling her my every move. No. He wilted under my gaze. Look, she promised to pay off my student loans, okay? I'm drowning in debt, Morgan. I'm sorry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to kick him out. But then, a thought occurred to me. If he was their eyes and ears, I could use him. You want to help me, Grant? I asked. I don't want to lose the money, he whispered. You won't, I said. Keep texting her. But write exactly what I tell you. Grant nodded, terrified. Okay. Tell her this, I commanded. Right, Morgan just got off the phone with a producer at CNN. She says she's moving the deadline up. She's not waiting until midnight. She's sending the files at 11:30 p.m. Grant typed it out, his fingers shaking. Send it, I said. He hit send. Good, I said. Now, go get a drink and stop spying on me. Or I'll tell Big Tony you're the one who scratched his truck. Grant ran toward the bar. I checked my watch. 10:15 p.m. I had just shortened the timeline. I had just turned up the heat. They thought they had 2 hours. Now, they thought they had 1. Panic induces mistakes. And I needed them to make a mistake. 10:30 p.m. The panic was setting in on their end, I was sure of it. But I needed to prove I was serious. Words weren't enough. They needed to see blood. I sat down with Cole at our sweetheart table. I opened a burner email account on my phone. I'm going to fire a warning shot, I told Cole. What are you sending? He asked. Just one photo, I said. Not the ledger. Not the heavy stuff. Just something embarrassing. I scrolled through the files on my phone. I found a photo from the yacht folder. It showed my father, Senator Preston, smoking a cigar on the deck of a yacht in the Caymans. Sitting next to him, laughing and holding a glass of champagne, was a man named Joey the Knuckles Moretti. Moretti was a known construction contractor with alleged mob ties. My father had publicly denied ever meeting him. He had sworn under oath at a hearing last year that he didn't know Moretti. This photo proved perjury. It wasn't prison-level evidence on its own, but it was a political death sentence. I attached the photo to an email. I addressed it to a popular, gossipy political blog called the DC Whisperer. Subject: Senator Preston's Cayman Vacation Buddy. Body: thought you might like this for your morning edition. More to come. I hit send. 5 minutes later, Cole nudged me. Check Twitter. I opened the app. The blog had posted it immediately. Breaking: leaked photo shows Senator Preston partying with alleged mob figure Joey Moretti. Is the senator lying to Congress? The tweet already had 500 retweets. The comments were exploding. User 1, I knew he was crooked. User 2, who leaked this? Someone on the inside? User 3, this is the end of his campaign. I smiled grimly. It was a flesh wound. But it showed them that I wasn't playing poker. I was playing Russian roulette, and I controlled the gun. My phone started ringing instantly. Daddy calling. Here we go, I said to Cole. Act 4. We moved to the gazebo for privacy. The night air was cool, but I was sweating. I put the phone on speaker. Hello, Senator. You ungrateful, spiteful little brat. My father's voice was slurring slightly. He was drunk. The gala must have been an open bar. Do you have any idea what you just did? My press secretary is having a stroke. I saw the tweet, I said calmly. Looks like you and Joey were having fun. Nice cigar. That photo was taken out of context, he shouted. He crashed the party. I didn't know who he was. Dad, stop, I said. I have the emails where you thank him for the consulting fee. I have the receipts where you paid for his flight. Stop lying to me. I know everything. You are destroying your own family, he roared. For what? For a mechanic? For some teenage rebellion? For the truth, I said. And for the fact that you threatened to deport Cole's mother. You sent Sterling here to threaten us. That was a mistake. Sterling was just negotiating, he stammered. He threatened my family, I said. So now I'm threatening yours. You have 30 minutes, Dad. The blog post was just a teaser. The full data dump happens at 11:30. That's the new deadline. 11:30? He sounded panicked. You said midnight. I changed my mind, I said. Inflation. Morgan, please, his voice cracked. The anger was dissolving into fear. You can't do this. I'm your father. I raised you. I paid for your school. I gave you everything. You gave me things, I said. You never gave me a father. You gave me a campaign manager. I did my best, he cried. The pressure, you don't understand the pressure, Morgan. The donors, the party, they own you. I had to do what I had to do to stay in power. And now you have to do what you have to do to stay out of jail, I said. Resign. I can't, he whispered. They'll kill me. The party, if I quit now, they'll destroy me. Better them than the feds, I said. Make the choice. There was a scuffle on the line. My mother grabbed the phone. Morgan. Beatrice sounded hysterical. She wasn't the composed ice queen anymore. She was a frightened woman watching her mansion burn down. Morgan, listen to mommy. Don't call yourself that, I said. You lost that right when you sent a cheese basket to my wedding. I was angry, she sobbed. I was hurt. I wanted you to have the best. I wanted you to marry someone who could take care of you. Cole takes care of me, I said. He stood up to Sterling. He stood up to you. That's a man, Mom. Dad isn't a man. He's a puppet. We can give you money, she pleaded. She was bargaining now. We have accounts you don't know about. Switzerland. We can transfer $5 million. Tonight. You can disappear. You and Cole can go to Europe. Live like kings. Just destroy the drive. $5 million. It was a staggering amount of money. It was enough to never work again. I looked at Cole. He was listening, his face unreadable. He squeezed my hand. I don't want your blood money, Mom, I said slowly. That money belongs to the veterans. It belongs to the people you scammed. Who cares about them, she screamed. They are nobodies. We are Prestons. We matter. And that, I said, is exactly why you're going to lose. You think you matter more than everyone else. But you don't. You're just thieves in nice shoes. Morgan, please, she wailed. I can't go to prison. I can't. They wear orange. The food. I'll die in there. Then you should have thought about that before you signed the checks for the shell company, I said. You have 20 minutes. Give me the phone. It was Arthur Sterling's voice. He must have driven back to their location, or maybe he was on a conference call line merged in. Miss Preston, Sterling said. He sounded composed again, trying to regain control. This is Arthur. Let's talk legalities. If you release those files, you are admitting to hacking. That is a felony. I will personally see to it that you are prosecuted alongside your parents. We will drag you down with the ship. Is that what you want? To spend your honeymoon in a cell? It was a valid threat. I had broken the law to get the evidence. I felt a spike of fear. Cole leaned in. Let me talk to him. I handed the phone to Cole. Hello, Arthur, Cole said. His voice was deep, rough, and completely unafraid. This is the worthless dirt speaking. Put your wife back on, Sterling snapped. No, Cole said. I just wanted to ask you a question, Arthur. I was looking at the files Morgan found. Specifically, the incorporation documents for Blue Horizon Ltd in the Caymans. Silence on the line. There's a witness signature on the bottom of page 4, Cole continued. It's a very distinctive signature. A lupia and a sharp S. It looks exactly like the signature on the cease and desist letter you handed me earlier. I was acting as legal counsel, Sterling stammered. No, Cole said. You signed as a witness to a fraudulent corporation. That makes you a co-conspirator, Arthur. That makes you an accomplice to wire fraud and money laundering. I watched Cole, amazed. He had studied the files just as hard as I had. So here's the deal, Cole said. Morgan releases the files in 15 minutes. Your signature is on them. You go to prison too. Unless what? Sterling whispered. Unless you advise your clients to resign immediately, Cole said. If they resign, and if the money is returned, Morgan pauses the leak. You might still have a career. Or you can go down with the sinking ship. Your call, counselor. There was a long silence. Then, we heard Sterling's voice, muffled, speaking to my parents. He's right, Senator. We're exposed. I can't defend this. If this goes public, we all get indicted. You have to fold. You coward, my father shouted in the background. I'm not going to jail for you, William. Sterling shouted back. It's over. Resign, or I'm walking out the door and cutting a deal with the prosecutor myself. Cole handed the phone back to me. He winked. The fixer had just been fixed. My father came back on the line. He sounded defeated. Broken. The fight had left him. What do you want me to write? He asked. His voice was hollow. Get a pen, I said. I have one, he muttered. Statement, I dictated. Due to a sudden and severe cardiac event, I, Senator William Preston, am announcing my immediate resignation from the Senate, effective tomorrow morning. I am also withdrawing my candidacy for re-election to focus on my health and my family. Cardiac event, he asked. People will think I'm dying. That's the point, I said. It garners sympathy. It stops the questions. It's the only way you walk away with a shred of dignity. Fine, he said. What else? You will authorize a wire transfer of $2,400,000 back to the Veterans First account. Tonight. Before banks close in Asia. That's most of our liquid cash, he said. Sell the yacht, I suggested. I hear the market is good. And finally, Dad, this is the most important part. Yes? You never call us again. You never come near my house. You never come near Cole's shop. You are dead to us. We are strangers. I heard a sob from my mother in the background. My father was silent for a long time. Morgan, he said finally. I really did want to be proud of you. You should be, I said. I'm the only person in this family who told the truth. You have 10 minutes to post the statement on Twitter and Facebook. If I don't see it by 11:30, I hit send. I hung up. 11:20 p.m. The wait was agonizing. The wedding reception was winding down. The DJ was playing the last slow song, Unchained Melody. Couples were swaying on the dance floor, oblivious to the fact that the bride and groom were huddled in a gazebo, deciding the fate of a political dynasty. Cole held me. I was shaking so hard my teeth chattered. What if they don't do it? I asked. What if his ego is too big? What if he decides to call my bluff? He won't, Cole said. Sterling turned on him. He has no allies left. A bully without allies is just a scared little man. I feel sick, I admitted. I'm destroying them. You're saving yourself, Cole said. And you're saving the next veteran who needs that money for a prosthetic leg. You're a hero, Morgan. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a daughter holding a knife to her father's throat. It was necessary, but it was tragic. 11:25 p.m. I refreshed Twitter. Nothing. 11:28 p.m. I refreshed again. Nothing. I opened the Dead Man's Switch app. My thumb hovered over the Execute Now button. 2 minutes, I whispered. Don't make me do this, Dad. 11:29 p.m. My phone buzzed. A notification. Senator Preston just posted a new tweet. I froze. I clicked the notification. The screen loaded. There it was. An image of a formal letterhead, signed with a shaky hand. Statement from the office of Senator William Preston. It is with a heavy heart that I announce my immediate resignation from the United States Senate, due to a sudden and severe cardiac diagnosis received this evening. My doctors have advised that the stress of public office is no longer sustainable. I will also be withdrawing from the upcoming election. I ask for privacy for my family during this difficult time. God bless America. I let out a breath that sounded like a scream. He did it, I whispered. He actually did it. A second notification popped up. A text from Arthur Sterling. Image attachment, wire transfer confirmation. $2,400,000 sent to Veterans First Charity Corporation status, completed. Text, it's done. Delete the files. Goodbye. I stared at the screen. The money was back where it belonged. The senator was gone. The threat was neutralized. I looked at Cole. Tears were streaming down my face. We won, he said softly, pulling me into a hug that crushed the air out of my lungs. It's over, baby. We won. I opened the Dead Man's Switch app. I typed in the abort code, freedom. Countdown cancelled. Sequence aborted. I didn't delete the files, though. I wasn't stupid. I moved them to an encrypted cloud server that only I knew the password to. Insurance. Forever. We walked back into the reception. The DJ saw us and shouted, "Give it up for the newlyweds." The guests cheered. They didn't know that in the last hour, we had toppled a government official. They just saw a bride and groom, looking exhausted but happy. We danced the last dance. I put my head on Cole's shoulder. I love you, Mrs. Mechanic, he whispered. I love you, Mr. Nobody, I whispered back. The next morning, the world was on fire. We woke up in the bridal suite around 10. We turned on the TV. Every news channel was running the story. Shock resignation, Senator Preston steps down. Health crisis or scandal? Rumors swirl. The pundits were analyzing his statement. Some were sympathetic. Some were suspicious. The blog post about the mobster photo was being discussed as a potential trigger for his heart condition. But nobody knew the full truth. Nobody knew about the embezzlement. The narrative was that he was a sick old man who retired. It was a mercy kill. I had let him keep his freedom, but I had taken his power. My phone had 0 missed calls from my parents. For the first time in my life, they were respecting a boundary. I received one text from my sister, Paige. Paige, I don't know what you did, but the house is like a funeral home. Dad is sitting in the dark drinking. Mom is packing bags for Europe. I think I'm going to move out, Morgan. I can't stay here anymore. I smiled. The cage door was open for her too. You okay? Cole asked, bringing me a coffee in bed. Yeah, I said, taking a sip. I feel light. I feel like I weigh nothing. That's called freedom, Cole said. 3 months later. The dust had settled, but the landscape had changed forever. My parents were social pariahs. Even without the prison sentence, the sudden resignation had stunk of scandal. The elite circle they worshipped had turned their backs on them. They were no longer invited to galas. They were no longer on the boards of charities. My mother had fled to a villa in Tuscany for a sabbatical. My father was living in the guest house of the estate, rumored to be depressed. Paige had moved into a small apartment near me. She got a job at a bakery. She was dating a teacher. She looked 10 years younger without the weight of perfection on her shoulders. As for me and Cole? We were boring. And it was wonderful. Cole's garage was busier than ever, partly because of the yacht photo leak. People figured if the senator hated him, he must be a good guy. He had hired 2 more mechanics. I had gone back to school. Art school. I was painting again. One afternoon, I went to the bank. I opened my safety deposit box. Inside was the USB drive. I held it in my hand. It was a piece of plastic, but it held the power to destroy lives. I thought about throwing it in the river. But I put it back in the box. Power isn't about using the weapon. It's about knowing you have it, and choosing peace instead. I drove to the garage to bring Cole lunch. I walked into the bay. It smelled of oil and metal. Hip-hop music was blasting from a boombox. Cole was under a truck. He slid out on a creeper when he saw me. He was covered in grease. His face was dirty. His hands were black with grime. My mother would have vomited. I looked at him, and I saw a king. "Hey beautiful," he said, wiping his hands. "What's up?" "Just brought you a sandwich," I said. "And I wanted to see my husband." He stood up and kissed me, carefully avoiding getting grease on my clothes. "You know," he said, "I got a call from a dealership today. They want to buy me out. Offer me a franchise." "What did you say?" I asked. "I said no," Cole grinned. "I like being a nobody. Nobodies have more fun." I laughed. I hugged him tight. I realized then that my mother was wrong about everything. Worth isn't determined by your title. It isn't determined by your bank account. Worth is determined by your integrity. By your courage. By your willingness to burn down a kingdom to protect the person you love. I was married to a mechanic. And I was the richest woman in the world. So, that's my story. The story of how I blackmailed my own parents on my wedding night. I look back at the wedding photos now. I see the empty front pew. It doesn't hurt anymore. That empty space was necessary. It was the space I needed to grow into my own person. My father lost his seat. My mother lost her social standing. I lost my inheritance. But I gained my soul. I gained a sister who finally talks to me. I gained a husband who would fight a lawyer with a wrench. I gained a life that is messy, and imperfect, and real. Sometimes, you have to be the villain in your parents' story to be the hero in your own. So, I have to ask you guys, and I want you to be honest, did I go too far? My father resigned, and my mother is in exile, all because I threatened them. Was the price of my freedom too high? Or did they finally just pay the bill for 30 years of neglect and crime? Let me know in the comments, I read every single one. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It was a wild ride, and I'm glad I could share it with you. If you enjoyed this tale of revenge and justice, please hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow, and subscribe for more stories about family drama and karma. See you in the next video.